In yesterday's video, we outlined some pullback targets for Bitcoin if it does indeed get rejected from this $62,000 region, which seems like it has been. And in today's video, I want to be following up on that, plus also the 12-hour trade setup that we're looking at from the end of last week, which has indeed closed now. And then what else? Then yes, we have a very important message at the end of this video, as always, very, very important. So first things first, the 12-hour setup over here has indeed closed. We can see that it did close at a slight gain. I think it's about 2.5% from the open to close over the last 3 days. And again, just sort of a good insight into how you can kind of use these statistics to, well, to manage trades. We did see the average in terms of returns for the winning trades hit pretty much the day after, or almost the closure after the actual entry, which was at 57,200 or so. And that was about an 8.5 to 9% move to the upside, which Bitcoin did meet in the subsequent day at around $62,500. Of course, the official way to close this one, as we did outline in this overall strategy, was just to close below that 5 exponential, which was still a win here overall. But again, you can use those statistics in whichever way that you deem is relevant to you. So yes, also the daily setup did indeed fail. Don't have that one on my charts right here, but that one did go for a bit of a small loss, pretty much right on the average of the amount of days you would expect for those losing trades to actually evolve. So moving on from there, I do want to get into some Bitcoin price action right here. As far as the short term goes, we were looking at yesterday as a likely pullback target for Bitcoin at just below $57,000. I do believe that is still, that's still very much on the menu right here. And we're going to find out probably very early this week if Bitcoin is going to find its footing and set in a higher low or not. I do suspect that if Bitcoin does find its higher low, you do see it kind of dig in around that $57,000-ish region. And we'd probably be expecting closures still back above $58,000 if that is going to hold true. That is just the top side of the 38.2 level right here. But here's the thing. If Bitcoin is going to fail and we're actually going to see continuation to the downside and new lows, this would be a great week for that actually. So bears are kind of on the clock here in the sense that, time is ticking, but if you are looking for, another downside move, early this week is very likely where that's going to be happening. We can also see now that the daily median has actually shifted down significantly on the daily HPDR, which is currently at 54,600. So if Bitcoin does close below there, yeah, I'd be expecting new lows and, trending new lows. I mean, this is a downtrend overall, but until then, just with the way that the weekly closed, I do think that there is at least a shot, at least an opportunity for a potential higher low, somewhere around $57,000. Anyways, moving on from there, we can get into some daily price statistics. Actually, Bitcoin now below $58,000. When I first started recording this video, it was like 58.5, but kind of fucked up on my first one because what do you know? Forgot to turn on my microphone. Great job, Krown. Great job. Anyways, yes. So Monday actually has been one of the most bullish days for Bitcoin since 2024 began. I think today's probably going to be a stretch on that. It is, however, the most volatile day of the week at 5.5% for your average high to low range, which is pretty significant compared to any other day, basically. Anyways, the average returns for the positive closing Mondays have been about 3.5%. Again, I do think that that's unlikely here. And for the losing days, losing an average of about 2.5%, which is actually the second highest negative return day. So in this case, if we were to see the upside explored, I think, again, this is very unlikely, but to put numbers on it, 3.5% to the upside would put Bitcoin back around 60,500. To the downside, 2.5% would put Bitcoin, very low, $57,000, which is kind of what I do think is most likely to happen here as we do get that continuation from yesterday's pivot. So anyways, moving on from there, I do want to now, let me just make sure, am I on the right chart? Yes, okay, there we go. I do want to go back to the 5-day time frame over here on the HPDR. We're going to actually see this one close later today for spot price action. As of right now, it's not really giving us too much. Obviously, Bitcoin is living below the median, so as long as it's doing that, there is risk here to the downside. We can see that from CME's perspective, which is not closing tonight. Just an overall range still being explored, especially on the weekly as well. But here's the thing: the weekly is also living below the median, and while the 38.2 level to the downside is around $55,000, this does have a downwards bias. I mean, it is after all, a downtrend. And barring any sort of closure below that last major low that we saw in early July, which this one did not close below this past week. I mean, that would be continuation. So have to be defensive. But here's the thing: if Bitcoin is going to indeed find its footing, which I would give it certainly a chance for it to do that today, you're looking for a wick to the downside. Very, very likely. I shouldn't be speaking like this directly, but I would be, if I'm telling you what I'm doing, I'd be looking for a wick to the downside, somewhere around $57,000 today, maybe a little bit below there, and then Bitcoin to close back above about 58 by end of day, and that kind of keeps the hopium alive for a potential higher low in the making. Anyways, I did forget to bring up my momentum chart, so let me just bring it up over here, and we'll get into a little bit of that action as well. Where is it? There we go. Found it, and let's see where the new pivots are for the weekly, because that was a big one. Okay, not for fucking Solana versus Ethereum though. However, let's go to maybe CME Bitcoin. Yes, that's what I'm interested in. We can see weekly continues to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above basically $54,000. I think this is also consistent, or a little bit more consistent with spot price action, which is pivoted at $56,000. Again, these areas do need to hold for this weekly if Bitcoin is going to indeed dig its feet in here and continue on with the overall weekly range and have a chance to actually resolve to the upside. So there is very likely to be pressure. I mean, there is obviously already pressure here in the in the short term. So just be aware of those those areas and any sort of price action response around those areas. Because again, if you are bullish, you're really looking for a reaction, somewhere around those regions, and for Bitcoin to pop back up and complete that next higher low. That obviously also does give a very great short-term pivot to the upside, with the way that this rejectant did evolve over this past weekend at about $62,000, meaning that if Bitcoin can close back above there, things start to look like really, really good actually, for at least a push back in, $66,000. But again, that's like not that's not very likely to happen today or tomorrow for that matter. If it is going to happen like that, you're probably looking at, like, basically I'll just draw it out for you right here, like a wick to the downside, somewhere a little bit below 57 perhaps, digs its feet in over Tuesday, Wednesday, and then reverses, probably by end of week, and closes the week back above about 62 or so. If you see something like that, very obviously this is going to start to look really, really fucking good, but it is going to put pressure in the short term. And, we very likely do get cleared on the situation. I think maybe not today, like obviously not today, but tomorrow, Tuesday/Wednesday, we should probably have a pretty good idea of whether that's likely to happen or not. Again, obviously, if you're bearish, I mean, you're just looking for straight down from here to complete the trend, right? It doesn't really take a fucking genius to figure that one out. But again, that's what it would likely look like if you are going to be bullish. So again, short term likely continues on. Watch around just below $57,000. That's kind of where you do expect a bounce attempt if this one is going to salvage itself, I do believe. Anyways, I think that is going to do it for today's video. I do have one last very, very important message here as I do send you off, but I would like to wish you, as always, the best. And with that said, here you go.
I'm hoping y'all are having another really wonderful day.